Season 3. Season 3.
We're here, season 3, which is called Game Changer on the Already Won podcast.
Season 3. Season 3.
We're here, season 3, which is called Game Changer on the Already Won podcast. That's what we're talking about this season, Mad Dog. Welcome along, guys. I'm the host, the Wildcat, Ben Wildman, and this is the Mad Dog Collapse. Mad Dog, today we are interviewing one of the biggest game changers, actual game changer, Bert Emanuel. Tell us a little bit about our guest today.
Bert Emanuel Sr., 1999 in the NFC Championship game, went down in infamy for making a catch that wasn't a catch. We'll show you here real quick.
January 23rd, 2000. NFC Championship, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the greatest show on turf, St. Louis Rams. With under 2 minutes left, trailing 6-11, rookie quarterback Sean King is sacked. However, on the next play, Tampa Bay receiver Bert Emanuel dives and catches a pass to put the Bucs just outside the red zone, as Tampa calls a timeout to plan for their third and manageable. The previous play goes under review. When the refs announce that the catch has been overturned and is now an incomplete pass, shock spreads throughout the crowd. After Emanuel caught the ball, it barely touched the ground, but Emanuel never lost control. This resulted in a 3rd and 23, and the rattled Buccaneers couldn't convert, ultimately sending St. Louis to the Super Bowl. That moment, it changed the game forever, and the NFL added the Bert Emanuel Rule.
So that ball, so he changed it. That game, the announcers, the coaching staff, everyone in the stadium thought it was a catch, but then they went to review some. Yeah, and
you can see it's like everyone is shocked that they reviewed it. Like, what on earth did they be reviewing it for, right?
It's a catch. It's a catch. But it's the first year they were doing video, VAR kind of stuff in the NFL. So they reviewed it and they saw the ball touch the ground. Even though he was controlling it, he had it firmly in his grasp. The ball touched the ground, he scooped it up. But because it touched the ground, at that time, the rule was anything touches the ground, it's not a catch. So from that point on, that next season, that is now called the Bert Emanuel Rule, is now it's a catch. So if he has control of it, it touches the ground, it can still be a catch. You know, I mean, it'd be interesting to have him talk about it, see how it's affected his career, because the St. Louis Rams, who won that game in the NFC Championship, went on to win the Super Bowl that year. And everyone's saying that the Buccaneers, if they would have won, probably would have won the Super Bowl. So, you know, it would have been a different story to hear him Super Bowl champ, you know. But we also know that his son, Bert Emanuel Jr., just transferred from last month in December, transferred from Central Michigan, kind of about 4 or 5 hours from me, up in the snow tundra area. There was one game, it was like a blizzard. And then now he's down in the sunny Southern California, San Diego State as the Aztecs. So it'll be good to hear him talk about his son.
Our podcast is Already Won, Mad Dog. We talk about a bigger game that's going on. So, yes, there was a game changer, that a game like rule actually changed the game, but we care more about the bigger game. And Bert is someone he's a husband. He's been married for over 30 years. He's got 5 kids, and he's a life coach as well with over 25 years experience. So where did he come through? What was his playing? Just talk us through a bit of his career. Where did he play and that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, he grew up in Texas. I'm not sure he played any other sports, but got picked UCLA to play quarterback. But he didn't play much. I don't think he took many snaps in his 2 years. And they transferred to Rice, which is in Houston, and played 2 years as quarterback, and ended up getting drafted by the NFL in 1994. So, yeah, he's I mean, as a wide receiver. So he switched. Like Charlie Ward was asked to switch from a quarterback to a receiver. He said, no, I'm going to play basketball, and the rest is history. But similarly, he was a quarterback, but the system, they didn't know if it would fit in the NFL, so he was asked to switch, and he did switch. So.
Wow, which is no small thing, right? So
No.
we're definitely going to ask him about that, definitely. But in his career, he played for the Falcons, played for Tampa Bay Buccaneers, played for the Dolphins, New England Patriots, and the
Detroit Lions. Had a bad season. That was a terrible season that year, 2001.
We won't bring that up.
That wasn't his fault.
And we want to dig in, like we say, more about the bigger game that's going on, right? So we're looking forward to bringing him in, right?
Yes, we are. I think he's here.
All right, please welcome to the podcast this week's guest, Bert Emanuel. Bert, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome. How's Texas?
Texas is nice, 76 degrees, sunny. Doesn't exactly feel like the holiday season, but I would rather this than the snow from Michigan.
Yeah, we were talking before you got in that it was you endured the Blizzard Bowl, I think is what you would call it there in
Yes.
Central Michigan.
Yeah, yeah. Just all it takes is one time. I just need one experience, and that's it. I don't need to experience it again to know I don't want to sit in that again.
Thus the change to San Diego. Here, your son is now committed to play at San Diego State. Good for him, and hopefully he'll highlight his skills and his abilities there.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be a good fit. The head coach Sean Lewis was actually at Kent State for about 5 or 6 years, and then here recently he was in Colorado with Dion as the offensive coordinator, and was really instrumental in and helping his son, the quarterback, really kind of prove to the world and the nation that he was a legitimate quarterback and can play at the high level. And after the first year there, he took the job at San Diego State, and so we're excited. The offense that he runs is the same exact offense that RG3 ran at Baylor when he won the Heisman. And so, RG3 and my son, Bert Jr., they have very, very similar skill sets. And so I think this is going to be fun to watch and exciting to be in.
Well, before we begin, we always like to do a little rapid fire. So there's no wrong answer. Whatever answer comes out of your mouth is the right
Okay.
answer.
Okay.
It's just got to come first thing. What do you think?
That's
That's
true.
got to be honest.
All right.
Brutal honesty.
All right. All right, here we go. First one. Are you ready?
Yep.
Is it more difficult being an elite athlete or a nurturing father?
Oh, nurturing father by far.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Do you prefer the creamsicle with Bruce or the pewter and red with the skull and swords from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I never wore the creamsicle when we were there. So I would have to say the pewter and red. That was actually my favorite uniform of all.
Okay, better than the other ones. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. Let's start. Okay, NIL or no NIL?
Ooh, now that's a tough one. I would say an asterisk NIL with restrictions.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, we'll put you on the committee to fix it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, 1994 NFL draft. Would you have preferred going as a quarterback, or you're okay going as a wide receiver?
If I had to do it all over again, I think I would have preferred to stay at QB. My game was a lot like Lamar Jackson's game. The dual threat capability, is definitely a part of the modern day game today. So I would say QB.
Okay. And the last one, we had Charlie Ward on season 2. So, and this is a yes or no. Has Charlie Ward given you half of the Heisman yet?
I have not received it yet. I don't know if it's lost in the mail or what. I need to follow up with Charlie on that.
we'll get him back on, make sure he gets it. We'll actually have him cut it in half on the show or something.
There you go. There you go.
Good stuff.
I love it. I love it. That was awesome. So good. Well, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper now then. So with this season we've got at the minute, it's called Game Changer. So being a game changer. And so we want to dig into that a little bit. And so first question we want to ask is, tell us about why God is the ultimate game changer in your life. And when did God change your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I believe that it's my belief that sports is a vessel. And I think it's a universal language. And I think God has given us this great opportunity to help spread the gospel through this unique vessel and this unique language. I think when I look back on my life, my life changed in college here at Rice University. And there was a young man that was a teammate of mine. His name was Trevor Cobb. And Trevor just seemed a little different than all the other players in the locker room. And once I started, really asking Trevor a lot of questions, he always came back to God was his source. Everything evolves around his belief in Jesus Christ. And at that particular time, I was not a believer. I had gone to church every Sunday with my parents growing up, but I had not taken that step. And so Trevor asked me to go with him to a speaking event. And little did I know that that would be the time that I would actually give my life to Christ. Trevor was a great friend. He went on that year to win the Doak Walker, which is the nation's best running back. And most people don't know the guy that came in second was Marshall Faulk, San Diego State alum. So that's how I feel. I've seen so many remarkable things that God has done through sports and through my life, and that's to me the ultimate game changer.
It's often a friend or a teammate that kind of you walk alongside with, and by example, but then also by showing you who God is and
Right.
the Holy Spirit does His work.
Yep.
So we know that you're famous for the Bert Emanuel Rule, but before we get into that, if you could look back at your career and today, and if you could have people say something about your career in the NFL, what would you want them to know you as besides the rule?
I don't know. I think I was probably one of the very few guys that made that transition from quarterback to wide receiver and, made a mark on the game. I know my second year in the NFL, we actually were the first team to have three receivers over 1,000 in the same year, running back to rush over 1,000 and quarterback to throw over 4,000. There was one team that did it before us, which was the San Diego Chargers with Dan Fouts and company. But there was a receiver that was traded to the team, and he came with about 200 or 300 yards. And so we were the first organically grown team with 1,000-yard players. And so I think the transition is tough. I don't think a lot of people understand how tough it is. And so I think understanding that, changing positions at the highest level is very, very difficult. Most people start that process at a younger age. And when they get to the NFL, then it's just about refinement. When I got to the NFL, it was about receiver 101. I mean, it was learning something totally different. And so I think that's probably what I would prefer at some point in time people acknowledge. But I had over 350 something catches in my career. But I think most people only remember that one. That was not a catch at the time, but then ruled a catch over time and then changed into an NFL rule.
Yeah, fascinating. Just coming from the UK perspective, looking over, American football and seeing how, each position is so unique. I think being able to do that is such a big thing. Coming from a country that, we have different sports that are a bit more popular like football, but American football, that's a unique thing. So I'd imagine you would have had to have a pretty influential coach and a lot of coaches to help you do that. We've heard about the influential player. What about coaching wise then? Tell us about some of the best coaches you had and what makes a good coach.
Yeah, so I was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons in '94, and June Jones was the offensive coordinator that was promoted a few months before the draft to be the head coach. Jerry Glanville was terminated, and the Atlanta Falcons promoted June Jones internally. And June Jones and Mouse Davis, who is, one of the godfathers of the run and shoot offense, they were very, very instrumental in and influential in my growth as a receiver. I don't think that had I gone to a traditional offense, that my transition would have been as successful. In the run and shoot, it's all about opportunity. And so each game, I probably had, between 8 and 12 targets. And that's a lot for each individual game. And that's why I averaged, 75 catches over, a 4-year span. And so they were very detailed focused. They were very patient with me. And it was really, I think, a time where I learned so much more about the game from a different perspective. And I was really shocked when they made me the 45th pick overall. And I remember that phone call like it was yesterday. I picked up the phone and June Jones said, "Hey, can I speak to Bert Emanuel?" And I'm like, "This is he." And he said, "This is June Jones with the Atlanta Falcons. We'd like to pick you next with our 45th pick." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome." And he said, "We're going to trade away Michael Haynes to New Orleans, and we want you to come in and start." And it was just quiet. I was like, "Start?" And he was like, "Yeah, do you not think you can start?" And I said, "No, sir, I think I can start." And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But we had a great conversation. We hung up the phone and he said, "Hey, go into the next room, look at the TV and see your name come across the screen." And so it was a great day. It was a day that I'll never forget.
I love it. What about childhood coaches? Was there anyone that got you into football early on, like that got you to love the game, or in that period before going pro and stuff? Or
Well, I think it was my dad. He was always there. I played baseball, I played basketball, played football. I did try soccer at one point in time. They said I was too fast, so they
Usain
didn't
Bolt.
allow me to be a part of the league. But my dad was always there. He was always very supportive. He was at almost all the practices that he could be at. He was at the training sessions. And so I think he was very influential in making sure that I stayed involved in sports and really and truly the passionate sports that I really, really liked to play. Most people don't know that baseball was really my first love. And so I was actually drafted in high school by the Toronto Blue Jays. But actually, the Oakland A's came to our house and wanted me to be their top pick that year to eventually replace Ricky Henderson. And at that particular time, education was really, really big in our house. And mom and dad were really focused on me going to college and getting a degree. I said, "Hey, I can pay for it. I can go back in the off season." I tried my best, but it didn't work. And so I was also drafted a second time by the Pittsburgh Pirates out of Rice University. And so I hadn't played in a couple years, and so I couldn't hit the curveball. And that's when I decided that I would pursue the NFL.
Well, and we're thankful you did. I'm not saying you could have been an impactful player of baseball, but we know that you did it with football. 30 years ago, you began your NFL journey with the Falcons. And we know in the 95 playoffs, you lost to the Packers. Sorry about
Right.
that. That's my team. But then 25 years ago in 1999, you had the infamous game with the catch. I wonder if you're going to get a shout out this year at the NFC Championship game. Do you think they'll call you up and get an interview on is that a catch, not a catch?
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. A couple years ago, I think the Buccaneers played the Rams, and I think it was the NFC Championship game, and I think it was 20 or 21 years to the day of the original catch. They had some conversation about sending me and Sean King to the game to do the coin flip, and they made a big, huge promotion about the Bert Emanuel Rule and all of the things that came with that. So it was pretty cool. It was really a moment that I really was able to kind of step back and really kind of cherish for the first time. You know, it was for so long, it was something that I never really talked about a lot, because I was so hurt that I didn't get a chance to play for a Super Bowl. And I felt like that play actually cost us that opportunity. And so it was something that I lived with for a long time. And my son was actually the one that actually helped me kind of get through that process.
How so? How so?
Well, he actually, between the age of about 8 and 12, every single day he would come home and he would watch this play on the computer and he would analyze the play. And he would say, you know, Dad, why did you dive for the ball? And I said, well, I had to dive for the ball because as I was coming out of my break, you know, Sean threw it a little early and that was the only way I could get to it. And he was like, well, I don't think you came out of your break quick enough. And I found myself talking and explaining myself to a 9-year-old, and I'm thinking, hold on a minute, I'm the pro. Okay, who are you to criticize me? And then one day he said, you know, you got all these pictures in your office, you know, all of these pictures from your career, but you don't have anything from the catch.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you know, it was a little bittersweet, you know. And he's like, but you changed the game. I mean, that you have an NFL rule. And I said, yeah, but it kind of cost me the Super Bowl. And he's like, yeah, but you changed the game. He said, that shouldn't that be enough? And he said, you should call to see if you could get a pitcher. And I said, I don't even know who to call, you know. And he's like, I do. It's the Tampa Tribune. I'm like, how do you know that? And I said, well, I don't even know the number for the Tampa Tribune. And he's like, I do. It's right here. So I picked up the phone and I actually called and I said, after a couple of rings, someone answered on the other line. I said, hey, this is Bert Emanuel. I used to play for the Bucks back in the day. I had a catch that was called a no catch that eventually turned into the Bert Emanuel Rule. And my son thinks that you guys have a picture of this play. And the gentleman on the other end said, we do. We've actually been waiting for your phone call for the last 20 years. The picture's in a vault. And we've been told that if you ever called and asked for it, that it's yours. And I just sat there and tears started rolling down my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, are you serious? And they said, yeah, we can overnight it to you. It's an 8x10. It was actually taken before digital cameras. So we can blow it up to 11x15 and you'll have it tomorrow morning. And I was just like, wow. And so my son was like, I told you, Dad, I told you. And so the very next day, the FedEx truck knocked on the door and I opened it up and there it was, the picture of the catch, the original photo. And it was just amazing. And I've since been contacted by the Hall of Fame. They actually want to build an exhibit around the catch. And they want, you know, my uniform, my helmet, a picture, the gloves that I wore, the shoes that I wore. So I think that's coming up next.
Wow, that is incredible. Yeah, and you're right, because the trajectory was the Rams went on to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And even Madden thought it was a catch. Listening to the highlights of it, Madden, they're all like, "What? It's a catch! Everyone's a catch."
Exactly.
So your whole life, if it would have been called a catch, would have been probably would have Super Bowl, because I don't think there was much competition. But yeah, it would have been different. But the story you just told is amazing now, because it's bonded your family together, at least in ways that you couldn't plan. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think my son knew that it was something that was actually bothering me for years. It's to add to that year, they did not get a chance to send us out for the coin flip, but Sean King actually called me up and said, "Hey, I'm doing a radio show. I'd love for you to come on, and maybe we can talk about the catch since we've never talked about it." And so it had been 21 years and we had never said anything about the catch. And so I called in and he said, "Well, before you start, I've got something I need to say." And he said, "I'm sorry. I apologize." And I said, what are you apologizing for?" And he said, "I threw the ball too early and made you dive for it." And I said, "I need you to say that one more time so my son can hear that." So yeah, it's been really cool. A lot of cool stories around the catch and the rule change. And so people don't remember the other 300 and somehow catches, but they do remember that one.
Yeah, they might do. They listen to this podcast. But what a story though about like your son doing that and the pure motives that he had and stuff. And it's an incredible story. And the way he framed it, you are a game changer. You know, you literally are a game changer, and you're a game changer now. I mean, you've got your own athlete development company, and I love this because we're sports friends. We try and holistically help coaches be trained. But you focus on physical, mental, and emotion skills to develop the complete athlete. So I just wonder if you could unpack that a little bit, just for our coaches, sports friends wise. What does that look like for you in your world as a game changer right now?
Well, I think from a coach's perspective, you know, there's a lot of emphasis on the physical components, the fundamentals, the skill sets, getting back to fundamentals, you know, body mechanics. And those are great. I mean, I think at every stage in a career, an athlete goes through, a process of refining those fundamentals, those physical skills. But looking back on my career, there was so much more from a mental and emotional standpoint that I don't think is emphasized enough. I think it's very easy for an athlete to go out, run hills, run sprints, catch the ball, throw the ball, and really work on those hard assets and skill sets, but really not understand how to control their emotions under pressure, understand what pressure looks like, understand how to win and be successful, even after games where maybe you failed. And so what I've tried to do in some of the private training sessions is really start talking to athletes and get them to really understand that the brain and the mind are very, very powerful components of their success. And if they don't train the brain and the mind to really work in those tough situations, sometimes the body will fail. And really and truly, those are the components that really make the good athletes great and the great athletes, game changers. And it's the ones that really understand how to control the chaos and be successful in those pressure situations.
That's great. Well, we'll wrap up with one more question. I know you have 5 kids, right? Or now young adults, maybe some of them.
Yes.
So if you probably some of your advice to your kids, some of your parenting styles, probably trying to correct some of the things you maybe made a mistake in your life. But if you could give an advice to yourself when you were 20 years old and say, what would you have said to yourself at that time? Anything differently? Anything noteworthy?
How much time do I have?
All day.
It's not quick fire anymore.
Yeah, a lot of things. I think it's, coming out of college, I transferred from UCLA to Rice University. I was a high-profile high school athlete. Didn't really play for the first 4 years of my collegiate career. Only played 17 games in college before being drafted into the pros. Um, you know, my blueprint is not the blueprint that I would recommend for anyone. I was probably emotionally not yet prepared for what was to come. I do think mentally and physically I was, but there's just so many things that come at you as a professional athlete that you're just really not prepared for. Um, I think one, how to be a great husband and a great father when you're obsessed with being a great athlete. Um, there's so many things that are pulling against you. It's not as easy as saying, I'm going to give a third to being a great athlete. I'm going to give another third to being a great father. I'm going to give another third to being a great husband. It just doesn't, it just doesn't add up like that way. And so I think you have to um, decide on what's important, what's going to be life changing and lifelong, and that's where you really put your emphasis on, or most of your emphasis on. Um, I do think there are certain situations, and certain teammates of mine and certain coaches of mine that um, had all three. Um, but, the first person that comes to mind is Tony Dungy. And I can remember, Tony was that. Um, he was the epitome of an athlete that made a transition to become a coach that was very successful, that was God fearing, great husband, great father. And then he had a tragedy that happened in his family. His son decided to take his life. And, it was tough for Tony. It was tough for him to take on. He shouldered a lot of responsibility in that moment. And, I look at that scenario and said, man, I don't know how much more he could have done. He was a tremendous role model for everyone. And so it's tough, looking back on it, it's tough. But I do think the most important things are the things that are sustainable, which is father and husband, um, and lover of God and Jesus Christ. And I think those are the things that you really sink your teeth in. And I wish that I had a little bit more of a grounded nature at 24 than I did. I was a new Christian, and I knew I had done the right thing, but I didn't know what the next step was. And so I think that's probably what I would tell my 24-year-old self. Um, it's great that now you've you've been saved, but how do you live that life on a daily basis? What does that look like? Really get deeper into Bible study and really start walking the walk and not just talking the talk. So
There's some good advice right
yeah,
there, and I love how you're helping others do that. Right, you're
right,
passing on your wisdom, your life experience. We said you're a game changer, but that's what you're doing. Teaching people how to control the chaos.
right,
I love that
yeah,
phrase, and people can probably visit your website and stuff, right?
yeah.
And anywhere else people can find you and follow you, or
Well, honestly, I've been a little private over the last 20 years, and that was a little intentional because, um, I was raising a family, and I did not want to be pulled and tugged, and I didn't want anything to really interfere with my ability to be there for my kids. And so now that they're much older, I'm reaching out a little bit more. I've just taken on a new opportunity here within our county, Fort Bend County, is one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. And we have tremendous athletes coming out of Fort Bend County. And I've been hired as a new county athletic director, which allows me to control a lot of our facilities, bring in, amazing youth programs and collegiate programs and professional programs, and really start giving back. I'm really at a part of my life where I want to start giving back. I want to create a life of success and legacy, and really start sharing a lot of things that I was taught along the way. And so I think this role is going to be incredible. It's the first year that the county has offered this particular position. And so I'm excited to use all of my experiences and my networks.
That's amazing. So more opportunities to give back and to instill into the youth. I think that's a good calling to have.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you for just giving us your life experience and being unguarded about it and just being true.
No problem.
No, thank you so much.
Yeah, I love sharing and let's do it again.
Great. We'll bring Charlie and you together. See if you guys can compare notes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Wow.
Mad dog. Incredible.
Let's start season 3, huh?
Season 3. Oh man, that stories that he shared. I honestly wasn't expecting that. With so much open transparency he shared with, and just his story about his son helping him kind of get over something for 21 years that he kind of carried.
Yeah.
Phenomenal story, and the impact that had on me, and I guess the listeners as well. There was a few things you didn't know about the baseball as well, right?
Hey man, I mean, all these elite athletes that we've talked to, like Charlie Ward and Antoine and different things, they've got different sports that they're in their pocket. They know they're probably good at other ones, but baseball, that'd be crazy to think him being a baseball player to replace the great Ricky Henderson. Amazing.
We have spoke to a few elite athletes, and the same kind of themes come out about this idea of controlling the chaos. Control what you control. Everything else might be chaos around you. How can you control what you control? And I also was impacted by the fact that he had inspirational coaches and inspirational teammates that impacted him on his own spiritual journey as well, right?
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, it's always something that, a coach can impact the player's life. Player can impact life. I mean, that's the reason we're in it. I mean, that's the reason we got to this position, because someone gave us some hope, either a player or a coach. Someone gave us some inspiration and advice, and now we're sharing that with other people. So it's amazing.
And a real game changer. The season is called Game Changers. We have the NFL Game Changer, and how he's now a game changer in this new role. Really excited for him down there, right, as well, and how he's going to pass on his wisdom, his lifelong wisdom and experiences. Priceless gold dust right there, Mad Dog.
It's flowing. It's just falling. We're catching it in heaps and buckets over here.
I honestly feel like we could have went for a lot longer on that and really pressed him and that stuff. Maybe we could, later on, because that was some really phenomenal stuff, and I would love to extract more gold dust, I think, of what it means to be a game changer. As he said, as a father, as a husband, as an elite athlete, but also just a follower of Christ as well. Really inspirational stuff. And whether you're a player, coach, this is the podcast what we do for, right? I think there's going to be some stuff to take away there, right? Without a doubt. Game
changer. Boom.
We've started off strong. I tell you, season 3. You want a bit of Wildman's Weekly Words to see us out?
Do I ever? Do I? You don't even have to ask. Just drop it. More dust. I got the bucket right here.
Here we go. Good leaders share the credit when things go well and take responsibility when things go badly.
There you go.
And I tell you what, that's literally what he's done. He has taken that responsibility from, a lot of hardship and a lot of heartache from what happened, but he's now kicked on, and he's now giving credit to other people, other coaches, other teammates, and humble, inspirational guy. So more game changers coming up, right? What do we got to do to finish? Because I've got to tell you something. God is the ultimate game changer, and we have game-changing guests with game-changing gold dust that can help you change the game in your lane.
There's nothing else to say, but to say every Tuesday a new episode drops, right? So make sure you tell your friends, tell your friends' friends, tell your parents even. Tell your parents' friends, just tell everyone. that we've already won, and that you could be a game changer too. You!